Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Social Ground video. This video here is a little bit different. This is a video between myself and one of my good friends in the marketing world, Brady from Church Candy. He is a pro in the church marketing world in an industry that usually is hesitant to change, but he has found amazing success, not just for himself, but for his clients in digital ads in the social media world. And so this is a conversation that breaks down exactly what he does and the importance, and may give you a bit of a perspective shift on how you treat your online presence. So please join me in watching this amazing conversation between myself and Brady. Mr. Brady, how are you, man?
Doing good. Excited to be here down from Texas.
So you're on this channel because you are a pioneer in the church marketing space and also using some awesome social media and marketing stuff for your own company. And we're just going to talk about that. So why don't you just kind of start with who you are, tell me a little bit about Church Candy, and then tell me what inspired you to launch Church Candy.
This all started because I was working for my dad's company called Candy, and we helped chiropractors use social media to get new patients. And in my head, I thought this is awesome because at the time I was going to Bible college to go and be a youth pastor and serve in ministry. And so I thought this is great because I can work my 9 to 5 working for my dad's company, but I've got a lot of flexibility in my schedule to serve in ministry, and that frees me up to do what I'm really passionate about without having to depend on a church for a paycheck. Now, ironically, I depend on a lot of churches for paychecks because when I was at Bible college, and I just felt the Lord put on my heart, like everything we were doing for these chiropractors, the local church needs. And so really, I like that day, I could tell you the seat I was sitting in and the classroom I was in. And I started pursuing this dream that God put in my heart. I dropped out of Bible college to pursue this. And I'll be honest, man, it was tough. I remember that first year whenever was supposed to be going to the 3-year program. And then in the spring, I felt called to start Church Candy. And a year goes by. And I go to my friend's graduation. And I see them walk across the stage, and I'm thinking, man, that should have been me. But I dropped out to go and pursue this dream that I felt like God called me to, and nothing had happened. I didn't have any traction. I just felt stuck. But then 6 months later, or maybe a year later, the world shut down. And I just feel like that was the Lord looking out for me. Because, man, imagine like if I would have gone all in and gotten a lot of traction and quit my dad's company and went all in on Church Candy back in 2018, 2019, well, then when the world shuts down for the pandemic, Church Candy would be the very first line item on a church's budget that they would cut. Does that make sense? So so what Church Candy does is we help churches use Facebook and Instagram ads to get new people showing up church on Sunday. This is a little cringe, but sometimes I'll say we turn online views to butts and pews because there's a lot of social media, and you guys do this too, and it's necessary. Creating like content on social and organic and graphic design, all that's great, but we don't want to be a company that just does graphic design for the sake of doing graphic design or video editing. We want to be able to see tangible results of you guys decided to work with Church Candy, and here's the fruit from that. Here are the metrics of how many new people came, how many people plan to visit to a Sunday service, and so that's what we're all about at Church Candy. And man, God's been really good to us. We've grown way beyond what I thought whenever I felt the Lord calling me to start this. We've worked with over 1,000 churches, have like 30 employees now all across the great state of Texas, and then a couple of VAs in Central America that help us out too. But man, God is good. We're seeing a lot of cool things, and I'm very humbled to see where Church Candy has gone.
Dude, I love that. Yeah, I've been watching you from afar because I'm in California. But you guys have been doing awesome things, and I love your most recent mission plan to help 1 million people get into a church. I love that, and you can talk about that more later if you want. But I'm curious. Can you kind of dissect a little bit more about exactly what you do for churches? So on this channel, we often talk about social media and marketing tips, and we talk a lot about lead generation in marketing for nonprofits, and you guys do a whole lot of that. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is a business term, but in some people get like a little cringed whenever I say it for churches. But we essentially do lead gen for churches. So we don't focus on trying to get likes or clicks or views or impressions. Like I said, our goal is to take online views to butts and pews, and we do that by doing lead gen ads. And so essentially the way it works is whenever someone signs up with Church Candy, we get access to their ads account and Facebook page and all that. But then we'll run targeted ads in their city, inviting people that live within driving distance to their church, inviting them to church, and the call to action on the ads are typically to plan a visit. And what's cool about this is it's a couple of things. Number one, it gives someone a next step. So when they see the ad on Instagram or Facebook, they're able to click on it and then plan a visit by going to a landing page and entering their name, email, and phone number. That data is then sent to our client, so the pastor and their staff. They can then follow up with them. And one thing that we do really well is intentional retargeting. So this is like when you're on Amazon and you're looking for a new I've got one right here. You're looking at a Stanley Cup, and then you go to Instagram and you start seeing ads for these Stanley Cups. That's called retargeting. And so we'll implement that for our churches. And because we work with churches, like people will like get really spiritual about it. Like I remember one time a guy came up to me and he was like, Pastor Brady, man, I knew God was calling me to this church because every time I turned around on Instagram, I kept seeing you. And I just smiled. I'm like, amen, brother. Like I believe God was calling you here. And if we're going to get real spiritual with it, like, I mean, hey, I believe God is going to use social media to call people into the church. And this is just a way we do it. There's some biblical things that back that up when it comes to like planting seeds and watering the seeds and the fertile soil and all of that. That could be a great analogy to what we do. But yeah, man, so we do lead gen for churches. We've connected over 250,000 people to churches all across North America. We're on a mission to get that number to 1 million. It's cool because like I'll get reports every week. You know, we had 2,500 people connected to a church this week. Around Easter, it was like 5,000 to 8,000 those weeks leading up to Easter, which was really cool. And then going into the summertime, churches drop their ad spend dramatically. So then that hurts our metrics of like tracking how many people were getting connected to churches. But yeah, man, it's really cool to see, you know, how God is using social media to get people into local churches, not just, you know, I might step on some toes here if there's any like pastors watching, but a lot of the times pastors will create this content, Instagram reels, and they're like, yeah, you know, Jesus said in Matthew to go out into the world and declare the gospel and baptize people, yada, 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 and the Great Commission, right? And they use that as their reasoning on why they're creating a lot of social media content. Well, the thing is, whenever you post those Instagram reels, that's not to your city. People all over the country, all over the world are going to see those videos. And I might argue to people that do a lot of organic and they focus on that. It's like, look, did God call you to your city? Because that's what you said when you planted your church. Then why are you putting so much emphasis on making these videos that might not even be viewed by people that live in your city? Because some people, they are called to be online digital evangelists or whatever you want to call it, and they're just making content, Christian content. Take Ruslan, for example, and he's making Christian content for people all over. It's not necessarily called to be a pastor in one specific city. So that's where we come in, is we help churches that are called to their city get people in that city get in front of them and get them into their front doors.
A real quick note on what you said, because I 100% agree with all of that. I want to say, for the people watching, that's not an excuse to ignore organic and ignore your social media. Oftentimes what I see, and in your process it might be a little different, but what I've noticed with a lot of the ads we run for nonprofits is they'll often see the ad, they'll go and they'll, maybe after they've submitted the form, they'll go and social proof you. So they'll look at your Instagram account or they'll look at your Facebook and they'll see like, hey, what's this organization actually all about? And a lot of the time, if you have really, I call it stale social media, where it's like maybe the posts are really old that you haven't posted recently, or they're not engaging.
There's just Canva graphics that are obviously templates with just text on the screen.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that happens so often. But a lot of the time, if someone sees a great ad and then they go back to your profile and they see like, oh, like, but what are they actually doing? Like they put no effort into this. It'll oftentimes turn them off from the whole organization. I've seen that happen a little bit in the church world, but that's huge in the nonprofit world.
No, and it's the same thing for churches, to where once someone sees an ad for a church, a lot of pastors think, okay, they see an ad, they're just going to show up on Sunday. No, they see that ad on Instagram, they're going to go check out your Instagram page. They're going to go watch some previous messages you've preached. They might watch online for a couple of weeks. And that's where like the good retargeting comes in, to where, okay, great, they get connected with you by just seeing an ad and go check out your Instagram. But retargeting is when you continuously show them more and more ads, so you stay in the top of their mind whenever they do decide to take that step and show up to your church. And so, yeah, it's not like, oh, should I do organic social or ads? It's both and. But I was speaking more to like the heart of a lot of people. They want to become TikTok famous. I think it's an epidemic in church world where these pastors will spend all this time and money getting the best sermon clips possible, and their heart is, well, I want this to go viral, so then I'll get invited to speak at other conferences and other churches and make some extra money on the side as an itinerant preacher whenever God called you to your city. And so it just depends on it. It's a matter of the heart.
Well, no, it's funny. One thing I repeatedly say in our messaging and to our partners and everything is like, yeah, likes are cool, but how does that translate to actual real world impact in your organization? And one thing I'll just boldly say like, hey, likes and views don't matter. What matters is, did that person who viewed, did that turn into, in my case, a donation? Did that turn into a volunteer opportunity? Did that turn into a supporter? For your case, it'd be, did that turn into someone actually showing up and visiting? And so many people I talk to are so focused on like, oh, but all these views, I need all the views. I'm like, sure, they're cool. They might give you that serotonin hit, that instant gratification of like, oh, this is good content. But like, what did it actually translate to? And I think you and I are speaking the same language there.
Yeah.
And I love, you called it cringy, that term. I love it. I love terms like that, where it's just like our mission made simple in a simple term. I love that. Can you, one thing I think we both deal with, possibly, I'm not actually sure of the answer to this, but we might both deal with this, is one thing. When people are talking to me about, potentially partnering with us, they see, well, like, they'll say something like, we don't really see the value in investing in social media or ads. And one thing I try to always say in any seminar I do, any podcast I'm on, any video I say is, you have to look at the means of communication from the start of humanity to now. Before it was just person to person, then it goes to newspaper, then it goes to radio, then cable TV. And I feel like social media and like digital ads and organic are the new wave of communication in the world. And so you being in the church industry, for me, it's in the nonprofit industry, I feel like both often are very slow to adapt to new communication changes. So can you kind of explain a little bit how you've either maybe convince people is not the right word, but how you kind of navigate the people who might be slow to adapt to a new communication shift?
Yeah, it's huge. So I'm going to give you some advice in your business on how it'll help you communicate it better too, because this has been great for us.
I love it. I love it.
For us, we don't sell the hammer. We don't sell the drill. We sell the hole. Does that make sense? So like Facebook ads, social media, that's just the tool, right? But at the end of the day, the churches that hire us, they don't really care about the tool. They just want the hole, right? They don't care about the drill that they're going to buy. They know they need to hang up a picture frame. They need the drill to hang up to screw into the wall or whatever, right? So we sell it as, hey, do you want new guests? Can you handle new families showing up to your church? So for you, it's like, hey, can your nonprofit handle more volunteers or more donations or whatever like the call to action is, right? So sell that, and then it makes the selling the tool a lot easier because you're selling the result first. So for us, that's what I've done. There's a verse in Revelation that talks about how there's power in the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so, I mean, the blood of the Lamb, power in Jesus, and then what Jesus has done for us. And so as Christians, it's like, hey, go share your faith, go share your testimony, what God's done. And I take that very literal, even in our business. And so here's something that we do that every business owner, every pastor, every nonprofit, what's the CEO, president, director, executive director, or nonprofit can use. So the first thing we do at Church Candy, we'll sign up a new client, right? So we sign up that new client, and then what we want to do is we want to get them the best results possible. We want them to have the best experience. We want them to love Church Candy. Well, after that, we want to document a testimonial. We've invested heavily in our podcast studio here, and we will even fly pastors out to Houston, Texas, and interview them that way they can share their testimony on how they've been able to use social media in their church to make a big impact. And then what I do is I leverage that testimonial video, that podcast clip in our marketing to then get a new client. Then once I get that new client, I get them great results and they love Church Candy. And then we document it by doing a testimonial or a podcast interview. Then I leverage that in our marketing to get a new client. And so it just repeats. And so what it comes down to is forget about like, oh, is TikTok, should nonprofits be on TikTok? Like, I don't know. Well, what is the fruit? What are the results that other people have gotten? And I guarantee you, Tim, like you guys get amazing results for the people that you guys work with. And so you leverage that. And it's like, look, forget about the tools, forget about social media, all of that doesn't matter. Let's just show the fruit, because I'll get comments all the time from pastors that are just like, what happened to preaching the gospel? Just preach the gospel. What, Jesus didn't have Facebook ads. It's like, yeah, no, this doesn't replace preaching the gospel. But what it did is, look at this church. They baptized 11 people on one Sunday that all found their church from Instagram ads. You can't argue with the fruit. Forget where they came from and if it's beneficial or it all of that just goes out the window whenever you get great results. And so anyone that's listening out there that might be hesitant on, I don't know if it would be worth it to use social media, if I should invest in it. Forget about that. Look at the fruit of what you've seen other people do. Because I did that in my business. I remember a few years ago, whenever short form videos became super popular, and I saw the fruit of people that I looked up to that were crushing it in their business and growing, all because they were just posting every single day these little Instagram reels and TikToks. And so I committed for an entire year to post every single day. It was from like May 2020, I think this was 2023. I posted basically for the rest of 2023 at least once a day. I might have missed a couple days. Some days I posted twice. But that was something that dramatically exploded the growth of our business. And I get stopped at the airport. I have people stop me at the air. This happened once. So one time I had a pastor stop me at the airport, and I was with my wife and my son, and this guy stopped me and said, "Hey, are you Brady? Are you the guy? Like, I'm a pastor. Are you the guy that does like social media ads and stuff for churches?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And shook hands. And I was hoping he was going to ask for a picture. I think whenever someone stops me in the airport and asks for a picture, that's like pinnacle. But even my wife was confused. She was like, "Oh, is that like a client?" I was like, "Nope, never met him, never heard of him." Um, And all of that is just because consistently I saw the fruit of how it helped other people's businesses. And I was like, I want that same kind of impact. And so I would just record these Instagram reels, these TikToks, and it was just value. It was just, hey, here's 3 things you can change on your website that can help improve reaching people for churches, right? And we don't even build websites. So I was just giving value. It's the whole like Hormozy teaches to just give as much value as possible without expecting or asking for anything in return. And so that's what I did with our content, and it exploded.
Yeah, we follow that same model here where we just post up. I always say in like some of the longer form stuff for the seminars, it's like, hey, like, yes, we get paid by managing social and managing your ads for you, but if you want to do this yourself, I respect that, and like, just follow our page. Like, you will find all the tips and tricks that you need to do it. That airport thing is really funny. Something like that happened to me recently. So whenever some new Instagram feature or some new meta ads feature comes up, or something, or they adjust something, or I learn something new, I try it on myself first. That way I can really see how it works and see the ROI and see like, oh, is this worth investing in or not? So I'll spend a few $100s. I'll try it on myself first. And the other day, myself, my wife, and my daughter walked into a mattress store, and this guy was like, "Hey, are you Tim Alcorn? Like, I see your videos online all the time." And my wife's like, "Do you know him?" I'm like, "I have no idea who that is." And I'm just like, it was the first time this ever happened. So that's a funny story there. But I kind of like what you were saying, where it's like, you forget about the tool, you look at the result, because I think for my audience here, that can work on multiple levels. One, that's what we do all the time. It's like we try to see the result. I often joke that I have $18,000 reels internally. I make that joke because our reels, they don't get millions and millions of views like some other people do, but what will often happen is that one person will see the reel and they'll reach out to us and be like, "Hey, you seem to know what you're talking about. Like, we need help with our social and our ads. Like, can we talk about a possible partnership?" And they'll close, and the 18K comes from like a year's worth of partnership. And so I'll often be like, "Hey, yeah, this video with 300 views is a $18,000 reel," because at the end of the day, it's like, kind of going back to the views thing. It's like, yeah, those are, I call those vanity metrics. They're great. They make you feel good, but in reality, do they matter? Like, did it really help you achieve your mission? I love your model. It's part of the reason why we're talking. And I would say I kind of want to hit some of these points that I talked about. What is like, and you kind of answered this already, but if you could go more in depth in this, what is like one of the biggest misconceptions of ads or social in your industry that you hear often? And like I said, you kind of mentioned this before, but if you could go a little bit more in depth and maybe state the misconception and talk about the reality of it.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of different things. One of them is churches are obsessed with the term excellence. And for a lot of them, that means if I'm going to make a Facebook and Instagram ad, we're going to take our Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K cameras that we use to live stream, and I'm going to record an ad to invite people to church. And then they use the fancy camera, they got all the lighting and all of that, and they make this commercial for an ad, and then they're bummed whenever it doesn't perform well. Well, it's like, yeah, duh, it looks like an ad. It looks like you're trying to sell them something. You don't want to be Billy Mays, right? You're not trying to sell things. You want to, like, I don't know about for you, but for me, I've found that the best ads do not look like ads at all. So they're vertical videos, they're super organic. They just look like organic Instagram reels. And so I think every church, if they want better ads, then just make ads that don't look like ads. Make them look organic. That's a mistake that I've seen a lot of churches make, because they do it for the sake of being excellent because they think, oh, if I have the higher quality camera and I do the lower thirds and the commercial background music, that's what excellence is. But no, let the excellence be the content that you're communicating from your mouth, not the content as far as like what the camera's producing.
That's something I kind of run into. This might be an interesting point of conversation because one thing I've noticed is I will 100% agree with you that it's content over quality any day. And I'm a huge fan of use what you have. Like for me, I invested a bunch of money into the studio that I'm in right now, mostly because I'm a nerd and that stuff, it brings me life and is super exciting to me. And I also believe in convenience of flipping a few switches and boom, I'm ready to record. But you know, sometimes people will ask me like, hey, I want to record videos like this. Do I need like your whole studio setup? I'm like, no, dude, use your phone. If you need more light, you know, get a cheap light, you know, but you use your phone and then just upgrade it as you see fit. But like get started with what you have. One issue though I do run into in the Silicon Valley sometimes is it doesn't have to be like a full-on commercial, but sometimes things like audio or camera quality really matter in the Silicon Valley, and I've noticed that. So it's like one thing I've kind of started doing is we still do like the kind of selfie style, but instead of with the phone, it's like with the vlogging camera. So it's like you kind of get that little quality boost.
Yeah, you might have a blurred background.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you get a little bit, so you're kind of combining the two things there. But can you speak more a little bit about kind of the shift from that fully produced like commercial versus like kind of selfie style? Because I think that especially where I am, that is a huge thing of like we're not gonna do it unless we do it Hollywood style. And can you maybe just kind of dive into, did you see like a commercial style ad like that flop and like kind of what was like the difference?
So one year for our church, we had this big event coming up and our pastor got out the big camera and everything to record an invite video. And we ran it and I said, okay, that's awesome. Now, and I gave him my phone. I said, do the same thing, the same script, say the exact same thing, but just hold your phone up and talk into the camera. And we're going to run them side by side and see which one performs better. Because like one of our core values at our company is mission over method. So I'm not just like anti nice camera, right? But what we have found is that quality or quantity over quality is what's best when it comes to like your ad creatives. So like come up with as many ads as possible, as many videos to kind of test and give you the data on what are the best performers. So we ran those side by side, and sure enough, at least in the Woodlands, Texas, and driving distance of here, the phone video dramatically outperformed the video on the nice camera. So I would recommend anyone at least run a test, have some different variations where you're using a phone or you're using a nice camera, or maybe at least turn the camera sideways. Like right now, as I'm recording, I've got another Sony FX30 sitting over there recording vertically for clips for me. So I'm not anti nice camera and nice video quality, but don't use that as an excuse to make like a video that comes across like a commercial. Really what it comes down to is you want your videos to look organic. When you're running ads, it's really important to don't just have one video. It's like, oh, you know, Brady on Tim's podcast said to use my phone, so I'm going to do that. No, do the phone, do multiple versions with the phone, but also get the fancy camera and do some versions of that. But maybe turn it sideways to where it's vertical, because you don't want to use the excuse like a lot of churches do of like using excellence as the reason why they're not being effective.
That brings me back to something I always say is just like, it's going to take you a few times to figure out what works for you. One thing I see a lot of people do, and unfortunately a couple of people I've worked with too, which is where they'll invest in their social media, they'll invest in their marketing, they'll start making videos, and after 30 days or maybe even 2 months, they'll be like, well, I don't have a return, so like I'm just gonna stop. And I'm like, well, like think about it. We haven't really done any like specific marketing, but that event that we did, like you got like I'll give you an example because I'm kind of talking in circles. We did like an interest meeting for a nonprofit, and they had 18 new people show up, and we were just doing lead gen event marketing for that, and they're just like, well, we didn't have 20, and also we haven't grown social media followers, so I don't know if this is working. I'm like, you just had 18 people who you've never met show up for an interest meeting. Like, to me, that worked. Like,
I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to social media, they want the vanity metrics, right? They want the likes, they want the followers, they want the views, but it has to be a long-term game.
Yeah.
I ran into a guy. I was speaking at an event in Canada last week, and a guy stopped me, and we get to talking, and it looks like they're signing up for Church Candy, so like, great. But he said he first saw me like 3 years ago on Instagram. And the thing is, that was 3 years ago, but I stayed consistent with it. And then whenever I met him in person and had an opportunity to talk with him, I had already had that trust built up. And so it needs to be looked at through the long term. What is the whole thing of like, oh, people are going to need to see you 7 times or whatever before they make a decision to buy, right? And so that's kind of the mindset I have with it too.
Well, and I think that kind of dives into like a lot of people say if you really, really simplify it, there are 2 types of marketing. There's the direct sale marketing where it's like, I'm marketing this thing and hopefully you click and you buy it. And then there's the more branding side of marketing where it's like you get the repetitive. It's kind of like what you were just saying where it's like this person saw you for like 3 years before signing up. And they both kind of have to run like almost like simultaneously. It's like you have to think about your long-term branding through your marketing, but also like for you, it'd be like, like first-time guests and everything for the people that you serve. But for yourself, it sounds like it's been a good mixture of like, yeah, we'll run ads for like lead gen when we'll try to sign people that way, but also we're just going to start putting out content, organic and paid. And we're just going to really invest in this, and the ROI is not all. Sometimes the ROI is immediate, and that whenever that happens, that's awesome, and I love it. But you always have to kind of go into stuff through the term of like, this is not an immediate thing. This might take some time to really get going, and sometimes I've worked with a few people who they wanted to be on camera, and sometimes the first few times they're on camera, they just kind of suck. And it's not their fault. It's they're either an executive director, they're a pastor, they're a business owner, and they get on camera for the first time, like probably in their life, like professionally, and they're just like, well, I don't know, I wasn't very good at it, and maybe the video doesn't perform well because people are too focused on how awkward they look. Happens all the time, but it's just there's also I think something to be said about like. It's not just your branding needs the time, but maybe you need the time to like develop, at least on my side, develop your product, develop your service, develop your skills and stuff. And so I guess an interesting question is for you is, have you ever worked with the church that maybe wasn't ready to run ads yet? I actually, this is not on my notes. We didn't ever talk about this, but it just kind of came up, and I'm curious. Have you ever worked with the church that maybe just wasn't ready to kind of put themselves out there like that yet?
Yeah. So for us, it's less about like, oh, they're maybe not like confident in camera or anything. It's just where they are as a church. So if they're like a new church plant, we love working with these church planters, especially if they're going through ARC, because ARC, the Association of Related Churches, they're a church planting network. They give them systems. They give them the full playbook on how to launch a church. So they kind of know what they're doing. Whereas some people, they're like, yeah, it's just, 5 of us in a bedroom or in a living room, and we're starting a church. And they think Facebook and Instagram ads are their answers. And it's like, no, like, I love what you're doing, but you don't need Facebook and Instagram ads right now. I'll be honest, when I was first getting started, if there was a church that had a pulse and a credit card, I'd sign them up. But now we will turn people away if we don't feel like they're a good fit, and they get so offended. But it's like, I don't want to take your money if I don't think we can get you good results. I don't want to waste your time as a church. I don't want to waste your money unless I'm absolutely confident you can get results. And so a lot of these churches where there's like 20 people, we found that it's just not the best fit. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I think there's things that they can do, systems they can implement organically to get a lot of growth. And they probably don't have the systems in place to handle the growth that we could send them. Or a lot of people would walk into the front doors of their church. There's only 20 people in there. It's like, oh man, like it's really obvious that I'm a guest in this church because everyone knows each other and I'm the odd one out. And it just people feel uncomfortable compared to if there's a little bit more critical mass, maybe closer to like 100 people. It's easier to not feel like an outsider when you show up to church and visit. And so, yeah, there's definitely times whenever churches are not the best fit for us to run Facebook and Instagram ads for. And recently we refer them to other companies or organizations that can help serve them better than we can.
So what does success look like for you, maybe as a person, for internally for your company or for, the churches that you serve? What does success look like for you?
Yeah, for me, success, I don't want to be famous in the church world, but not known in my own home, right? I want to make sure that my kids, that I'm super present as a father, that they don't hate when dad's got to work and dad's always gone for work. And so, people always talk about work-life balance. And the problem is when you're trying to do the whole work-life balance thing, what ends up happening is you're playing with your kids, but you've also got work things. So you're like playing with your kids and you're answering emails on your phone at the same time. Well, it's like, yeah, I'm trying to balance it. And it's like, that's not healthy. What is healthy, it's not necessarily a balance. It's more like a pendulum, right? To where when I'm in work mode, I need to be fully focused on work mode. But when I'm in dad mode, I need to be fully focused on dad mode. And that's a discipline that I'm still working on, trying to work on keeping my screen time down. And just when I'm playing with my kids, that I'm giving them my full focus. And so for me, that's success. Is like I want to be the best dad, the best husband possible. And then from there, man, I've said it before that we're on a mission to connect 1 million people to a local church. And, I could make a lot more money if I was doing this for plumbers or roofers or HVAC companies or just sticking with chiropractors, what I was doing with my dad. A lot of churches do not have the kind of money that these other businesses do. And so we kind of make that sacrifice. Like our price point at Church Candy is way lower than any like traditional marketing agency that doesn't serve churches, right? Like I could be charging a lot more in other industries, but we keep our prices low because we care about the impact, because I want to connect 1 million people to a local church. And so that means I want to connect as many people to churches as possible, and work with as many churches as possible. And I don't want to have to turn someone away just because they maybe can't swing the monthly payments. So with that, it's like, okay, how do I balance? All right, I got a staff of like 30 people. I got to make payroll. They got to take care of their families. I got to make sure we have enough money to reinvest in growth and ministries and some projects that we want to do. But then balance that with trying to stay as affordable as possible so we can work with as many churches as possible. So that's a balance that we're still, working through today. And that's why we have like a program where if someone refers 3 other churches to us, we waive their monthly fee. And so we actually stole this from MLMs. So a lot of like network marketing, like my dad, when I was in high school, he sold Visalis shakes, and he first referred 3 other people to start buying these protein shakes. And then my dad started getting his for free. And I was like, oh, this is sick. And then he got some other people referred over, and now they were on the subscription to where they got shakes in the mail every month, and he started getting some money in. And then he like went all the way up to where like they bought him a BMW from the referrals that he got. And so we had that at Church Candy or at Cairo Candy, and now we do that at Church Candy to where a lot of the churches we work with don't even pay us anything, just because they referred. All right, if you have 3 other referrals that are getting your services, we waive your monthly fee. So just my heart is I want to see as many churches as possible.
Sorry, real quick. Do you waive it for 1 month, or do you just waive it as long as those other 3 churches are there?
Oh, yeah, no, as long as those other 3 churches are working with us. Because, too, like, there's a lot of churches that might only have 1 or 2 referrals, and they're waiting on that third to sign up. And we don't have like long 12-month contracts. So sometimes people will, they'll stay for 90 days, and then churches, a lot of times it can be seasonal to where they want to pause. Like right now is a huge time where clients pause, and they'll get back started in the fall once it's back to school season as well.
That's funny because I feel like me being in the church world, summer is almost a time to ramp up. A lot of people are looking for churches in Easter and Christmas, but summer people are not as engaged, and so that's the time to ramp up to try to get more people in the seats.
That's what I try to tell them, but it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Well, I deal with a similar thing right now. Federally, funding is uncertain right now for a multitude of reasons that we will not get into. But federal funding for nonprofits can be uncertain, and so my key advice is I'm like, hey, this is actually the time to ramp up your online presence, because that's the front door between potential donors and you. And if this is the first thing that you cut, like I hate to say it, but you might be shooting yourself in the foot. And so at least, explore this avenue. And I feel like that's my version of your summer lull. What's a piece of resistance that you've faced as a business owner that you have pushed through or you're currently pushing through?
Yeah. We scaled really quickly, and I thought we had it all together as a business, and I thought everything was good. I didn't realize our business was broken until we started not losing clients, but losing employees. Because the first time we had a team member quit, I was like, oh, she just couldn't handle it. And then the second time someone quit, I was like, oh, they just can't handle it. This job's not for everyone. And then the third time someone quit, I was like, maybe I'm the common denominator. Maybe we're the problem. And so, yeah, we just didn't have good systems for onboarding new team members. Like, dude, we were signing up like 30 to 50 new churches a month. And the way our model worked back then was one of my employees, they would be the account manager. So they would be in charge of like talking to the clients, and they would be in charge of building out the ads themselves. And they might only be able to manage 30 to 50 churches. And so I would have to hire like a new person every month. And so it's like I would hire someone, give them like a week of training. It's like, okay, Johnny just quit last month. So here's Johnny's 30 clients. You can just take over. There's someone, they've had a week of training and they're jumping in. They're having to talk to client. They don't know their right hand from their left, and we're throwing them in the deep end. So we just didn't have good systems. There's a book that really helped us called Traction by Gino Wickman. And it walks through the EOS system, the entrepreneurial operating system. And it helped us really restructure our org chart, get a solid leadership team in place, build out our SOPs to where now we're structured in a way to someone gets hired, they have plenty of time before they ever talk to a client. And we've got different roles. And so, yeah, that was something for us, like that we had to, just some growing pains. And we're still kind of going, like we in March of this year, we had over 100 churches sign up in 1 month, which was crazy. I didn't think we would ever, like the most we'd ever had is like 60. And so this is funny. You might have heard this, that I told my team, I was like, hey, if we get 100 churches to sign up in March, I'll let you guys tattoo whatever you want on my body at our staff retreat, which is like a month from today. So it's coming up. It's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to know what it is or see it until after they're done with the tattoo. So
please tell me your wife at least knows what it is.
I don't know if she knows what it is yet, but here's what I did. I told the staff, I was like, hey, because they were sending some wild like recommendations. And I was like, okay, whatever design you guys decide on, if anyone else in the company wants to get it, we will pay for you guys to also get that tattoo. So now their mindset has shifted. Instead of let's embarrass Brady, it's, smart. We get a free tattoo, so let's pick a dope design. That way we can all get free tattoos.
That's smart.
But anyways, back to what I was saying is like we just have grown really, really quickly. And so we're always having to look and resystematize our processes. Something I learned from Dave Ramsey the whole principle of like treat others the way you want to be treated. I've always tried to apply that with our employees. Treat our employees the way I would want to be treated. And so sometimes, and my wife will say to this, like we had not an argument, but a disagreement last week, that sometimes I can be way too overly generous with our employees, and sometimes I get taken advantage of, and that's a story for another day. Not necessarily by our employees, but other people in the world. And it's just like, how would I want to be treated if I was in their shoes? And so I always try to be overly generous. I heard a pastor say once that he's never been overly generous to someone and regretted it. And so I just always try to take care of my team, take care of our clients, take care of partners that we have, and just, treat them the way I want to be treated and be more generous than what people might typically do.
What's one piece of advice you would give to a smaller business owner, kind of like maybe such as myself or someone else you know? Like, what's one piece of advice that you would give?
I said it earlier, so yes, be generous. Get obsessed with documenting your clients' results, right? Because a lot of the times it's like, oh, we're going to be obsessed on getting our clients' results. We were going to be obsessed on getting new clients, right? But if you can get obsessed on documenting your client results, that's going to make getting new clients way easier. And so that's why, we're so big on getting video testimonies. Like you click on the main landing page that we run ads on, you scroll down a little bit, and there's probably like 50 testimonial videos of just pastors that we've worked with singing our praises. And we do that because that social proof is going to sell your organization way better than you could. And so if you can get obsessed with getting client testimonial videos, like something we don't do it as much anymore because I think we've kind of, what is the expression, milked that cow dry, is used to the month of my birthday, the team would send out an email to all of our clients saying, hey, this month is Brady's birthday. We're getting together a video. Can you record a video that says, happy birthday, Brady? And then just talk about how Church Candy has impacted your church. Well, we would get like 30 or 40 of these videos every single year. And then we would just trim the beginning where it says, happy birthday, Brady, and then put them on our website as client testimonials.
I'm stealing that, by the way. I'm stealing that.
Oh,
That's
no,
amazing.
yeah, it's great. Once you do that like 3 years in a row, then it kind of is like, okay. And then I would talk about how we do that on other podcasts. Now I'm like, okay, we're good. And now our team just knows, and they're trained well, like on Zoom calls, we record all of those meetings with account managers and clients. So anytime they say something positive, they transition it to like hey, I'm recording this call. Can I ask you a couple questions? And then we can share this. I'm going to share it with the team. And then if we can maybe use it on some social media things as like a testimony. And they always say yes. And so that's something we do as another way to easily get client testimonials.
I think sometimes, and I think I've even fallen into this trap too. Sometimes you think, oh, if you need a client testimony, that means you have to get a videographer, you have to get a cinematographer, you have to set up a whole production, you have to hire a team, and then they can sit down and record. But I one thing I want to point out about what you just said is you don't need to do all that to get a client testimony. It could be selfie style from their phone, because at that point, people don't care about the production. People care about what they have to say. And not focusing on the, go back to this term, excellence of like the production of a client testimony, and just like, hey, instead of focusing on that, how do we just get as many as we possibly can? And I think you gave a couple amazing ways to do that I'm totally gonna steal, because I've even, I'm a video nerd. I love all this stuff, and I think that I've definitely fallen into that trap. Thank you so much, Brady. I want to be respectful of your time. You've given me more time than I asked for as of this. I am honored to call you a friend and a mentor, even whether you realize it or not. And I'm so proud of the work that you are doing, not just in the marketing industry, but in the church mission field. And thank you so much for taking the time to be on this channel. And I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And hey, if you are a nonprofit out there You need to connect with my buddy Tim, Social Ground. They crush it. They get amazing results for their clients. So hit them up. I highly recommend it.
Thank you so much, and keep crushing it. Thank you.